Ladies, thank you so much for being here. We are starting week 2 of our anxiety series. And so we are going to just kind of jump right on in and continue to just share more, again, just our personal experiences with anxiety and how that shows up in our lives, how that affects people in our lives. Does it affect our daily living, our working, our relationships? Kind of what does that look like? So for me personally, we're going to talk about today, like, what are those triggers for us? So a lot of times we have anxiety and it kind of, deals around a very specific event or something that took place in our lives. And so for me, my anxiety that I shared last week is always centered around death. I'm convinced that death is about to happen, and I just know this is it. I have come to the end of my life. And so for me, what those triggers are any type of a situation where I do not feel like I can escape. So an airplane, I feel trapped on an airplane. Airplanes are oh my gosh, I get on that plane, I'm like, this is it. This is it. And not only that, but I'm not in control. So when I'm driving, I have certain things that trigger that, but I'm at least in the driver's side in control.
Right.
So I have certain rules about when I am driving. Like, I don't like to drive in the far left lane of an interstate, because if I get stuck between semis or if people are there, I don't feel like I have an easy way out. I can't just pull over or do anything like that. So those types of things, it just immediately tells me this is a situation that you could die. So that's what triggers are for me. It looks like that. And it's instantaneous. I will go from being completely fine, normal, to just being like, this is it. This is it. The time has come. I'm dying, and God help me. I can't die. I've got to get out of here. I can't be in this car. I can't be in this situation. Mm-hmm. So that's what I kind of want us to share, today is, what is that for you? What are those triggers, and what does that stem from? So if you wouldn't mind going first, Cheryl, okay, and letting us know.
What? Oh, yeah. There's so many. I feel like mine was more the slow boil kind of build in anxiety in life, beginning with a lot of expectations put on me as a child, and then I kind of related to what Jenny was talking about last week about always looking for every option and mm-hmm. every decision to make sure that everything would go right and that nothing would ever go wrong. Mm-hmm. And so covering all the bases, thinking every scenario through, overthinking. It started when I was young, and it built, and through every mistake that I made then through life reinforced that. Wow. Oh, you didn't think about that enough. You didn't worry about it enough. You didn't tear it apart, dissect it, whatever. So I just got more and more anxious about safety with my kids when they came along. Any decision or any mistake, lamenting, overthinking, trying to prevent anything from happening in my life at all. And, it still carries with me today. Mm-hmm. Now it kind of is more in the financial realm. If I feel insecure financially, or if we have a big financial decision to make, I will ad nauseum research, wow. think. My husband's finally like, you got to just pull the trigger. And I just get paralyzed in some of those decisions. Yeah. I'm like, I can't, you have to. But in that process, I've lost so many nights of sleep just worrying yeah. and fretting about things. So, yeah, I guess my triggers mostly right now are financial and safety a lot, too, for my son, child didn't answer the phone yes. right now. They are run off the road somewhere in a ditch.
Yeah.
Immediately go
yes.
there. And just almost looking for things to worry about. Learning to get better at that now. Mm-hmm. Because I think I'm just worn out by it.
I know. It's so exhausting.
It is exhausting.
But at the same time, it feels like worrying is doing something mm-hmm, about it. It's right. the most yep. maddening thing, because this is not healthy. This is not what Scripture says to do.
Exactly.
It's not what Jesus tells us how to live. Mm-hmm. But yet, if I worry, I'm at least being proactive. Mm-hmm. Versus do what?
Right.
I don't know what to do half the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for my anxiety, it's the short answer of it is anything that makes me feel unsafe or out of control. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced a couple of situations in recent years, probably in the last 10 years, where it wasn't safe. And so I saw a woman who was just walking down the sidewalk. A car veered off onto the sidewalk and struck her, and I saw the whole thing, and she passed away right in front of me. And so saw a very abnormal state of being for a body and a person. And then a couple years ago, my husband and I were in Las Vegas for the Route 91 concert. And of course, there was a mass shooting there, and we were supposed to be there that night. We hadn't gotten there yet, and so that really did a lot to increase my anxiety. So day-to-day triggers for me are loud noises, anything that sounds like a gunshot or just a loud scream, even if someone's just playing and hanging out, like screams, car accidents, ambulances, people fighting or arguing in really close proximity. I'm just waiting for someone to do something and someone to get hurt. So that can be hard day to day when you imagine how often that does happen each day. And in my work life, the triggers are a little bit different. So anytime that things don't go according to my plan or the way that I would like them to go, I get instantly anxious, or if plans change last minute. So we had one plan in place, and then last minute we throw that out the window and we're gonna do something else. I feel so out of control and don't know how to function in change. So that kind of turns me into a micro manager and a macro pain in the butt for people that I work with. And then in my marriage and family life, my major source of anxiety comes from a fear of losing them. And I think everyone probably would agree or feel that way, but the way that I experience it is really paralyzing and debilitating. And that looks like people not, like you said, if they don't answer their phone, or if they don't respond to a text message in a timely manner. And when I say timely, I mean 45 seconds max.
Right.
If you do not respond to me, I'm on the phone with the nearest hospital and police station. I'm getting in my car and driving the route that I think that you took to get home, and so that I could find you in a car accident on the way there. I'm calling, I'm texting, I'm not sleeping, and I physically experience symptoms. So I always go numb in my left arm and these two fingers, and I always get pain from my neck all the way down every time I experience anxiety. And so, and like you said, I really resonated with what you said about if I worry enough, so if I suffer enough emotionally and mentally, I'm paying my due, and those things won't actually happen. Like the Lord will see, okay, she's worried enough about it.
Yes.
I won't let it happen. And it always makes me think of the Sermon on the Mount when he says, who of you by worrying has added a single hour to your life? And I'm like, I know, like it's crazy, right? And yet when you're in it, it's all you can do is think about it. And so yeah, that's me.
Yes. Oh, that's a lot. I know, and the thing is that I hear all of it and I know exactly what you're talking about. Because it's to the outside, to somebody who does not experience anxiety, it's like, that's crazy. But for those of us who do, we're like, oh, I get you, 100%.
Right.
Because you know exactly that process that you are going through in your mind and how you're breaking things down. And so it makes sense to us. What seems, and of course, we know it's not right. That's it. You don't have to tell us it's wrong. We know.
Right.
We definitely know. But how do you work past that? Which we will look at that later.
Or just kind of just shut it off and stop it and say, okay, I'm not going to worry.
Right?
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Right.
All the time. So how about for you, Cheryl? Do you feel like that has, again, like you were talking about, like, finances, how does that affect your marriage? Does it make is it difficult for your husband? And then obviously with your children, same thing, like.
Yes. Yes, I would say it's had, I think any kind of anxiety and worry has a negative effect only. So anything you're anxious about is going to, it's going to be a hill that you have to climb and continually in your life. So I would say yes, definitely it's a factor in most every decision. It's the source of my security way too much, and I know that. I've gotten better over the years, I will say, and not looking solely at that, but it's not possible for me to just say that doesn't matter anymore, it just becomes a problem because I'm always worried about it, and then my husband's not worried about it, and I'm just like, why aren't you worried more about it? And I don't understand why I'm the only one worrying. Why am I the only one worrying? As far as and it really doesn't affect any other part of my life, I feel like, that I know, but I'm always trying to work all the time, so that's probably a negative financial, like, it's like, you don't have to work that many hours. Oh yes, we have extra hours. I'll take them. I'll do this. I'll do that, But I've always kind of done that. So it's like, but I want my peace and I want my free time, but I want to work. You can't have all that. So it's choices, and I'm learning to get better at making and telling myself, it's okay that you don't work those extra hours. It's fine. You're fine. It's all right.
Yeah.
And reminding myself here all the time, going back,
Yes.
keeping my mind focused here and getting it out of here, because it's crazy in here.
It's so crazy up in here,
Crazy.
too.
It's crazy.
Crazy land.
It is. I do. I look at other people, I'm like, you're so calm and you're so peaceful. I want that. They're like, well, you seem calm. I'm like, no, really, I'm not.
Not so much.
Wait till I lay down at night and it's just going,
Learning to take every thought captive to Jesus has probably been the hardest discipline to learn and practice. Given that anxiety is being in a state of constantly tormenting oneself with disturbing thoughts, the thought of relinquishing those thoughts to Jesus in that time and in that moment, it truly does feel impossible, especially given that the threat of, those perceived thoughts that we're having, that they really do appear so real, even though we know, technically they are not. And so I love that Kerri mentioned the words that Jesus spoke in Luke about worry, what Jesus, had to say about it. And really what Jesus is telling us is it's so ineffective. And so he put it this way: who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? But really what happens is the illusion of anxiety and worry, really, it's so deceiving because it places us, or it gives the illusion that we are put in control. But the reality, again, is that anxiety is a taker. It's not a giver. It doesn't give anything to us. It doesn't give life, but instead it takes life. And so for those of us who suffer from anxiety disorders, which is kind of like that next level, it's worry and anxiety are kind of one and the same, but an anxiety disorder is like constant. It's when you are tormented by your thoughts constantly. There really is no break in that. And so we know, if that's what we are experiencing, if we have an anxiety disorder, we know that it is so crippling, and we know that the crippling effects it has over us and how it will completely steal away our quality of life, our peace, and it just leaves us questioning, if we'll ever enjoy life again. And that's exactly how my life was. And, last week I had shared my personal story about anxiety and how it did all of that to me. And so, where I'd left off last week was after telling my husband, waking him up and telling him that I needed immediate help. The Lord really did provide that help by the way of a psychotherapist named Randy. And so Randy ended up being so instrumental in helping me work and walk through my anxiety. And I know that God, he was sent, directly from God. And that is a lot of the reason why I am here now and why I have a sound mind. And so what Randy did, he did so much, but the things that I wanted to share with you was what he did. He walked me through what actually happens to your brain when you experience an anxiety attack. So he showed me all the different stages that your brain actually goes through, right? In the process of an attack. So it has a starting point, it has a peak point, and then it has an ending point. And so for me, what really, really helped me so much was just being able to see, anxiety, to see what was taking place in my head, in my brain, in that step-by-step way. And that just gave me so much relief because I began to understand how, the way that my body and my brain were responding to these episodes, it was responding in a way not to harm me, but it was responding in a way to actually protect me. It was trying to like regulate and get itself, into a safe state. And so other things that he did as well was he took me all the way back to childhood traumas. And so he was able to show me and help me to see how what happened back then was actually coming out in a very sideways manner in what was at the time the now. And so one thing that he did, that he told me and that he shared with me that has stuck with me for all of these years that I found so incredibly helpful, and again, just a tremendous relief of, okay, this is normal. And I use the word normal, like I'm putting quotes around that word. It's a normal reaction. It's a normal place to end up given everything that I went through. And so what he had told me was that, a lot of moms, when their children, so I was a mother at the time, my oldest daughter, Presley, had just turned the age of 5. And so when I was there meeting with him, he was asking me when we were going back through all my childhood, traumas and everything, what age were you when this happened to you? And for me, I was 5 years old. And so he said that correlates and it makes sense because when you become a mother, especially if you become a mother of, a same-sex child as yourself, that when they hit the age that you were when the traumatic things happened to you, he said that's when most women end up in therapy. So just hearing that and knowing that, like there's a reason behind this was, again, so unbelievably helpful. It didn't cure me. My anxiety didn't stop right then and there. That's not at all what happened. But there, again, it was just God's way of showing me there's reasons behind this. You're not alone. You're not going crazy. Everything's going to be okay. We just have a lot of work that we've got to go through. And so other stuff that he did was he had me go through and do a lot of like spiritual warfare. So I had to go and renounce a lot of the stuff, again, that I did when I was younger. I had to renounce, tremendous amounts of like satanic activity things that I participated in. I used to do like, participated in seances. I saw psychics all the time. I was really into that kind of stuff. So he walked me through all of that, going through that, renouncing that. Again, just taught me a lot about spiritual warfare. He prayed over me every time we met together. Like he just did just amazing, amazing works. And he's a professional. So that in and of itself was so helpful because I was not the first person to ever show up there with all of these issues. So one thing that I do want to share with you, well, I'm sharing many things with you, but the work that I want us to start this week with anxiety is a journal. And so this was something that I actually had to do, that Randy had me do. And at the time when I started doing it, I did not think that it was going to be effective. I couldn't really understand why, he was having me do it. But the longer I did it and how everything ended up, it again ended up being something that was so, so powerful in putting my anxiety into the proper perspective and actually being able to take captive all of my thoughts to Jesus. So that's what I want us to start doing this week. And if you don't have anxiety, that's fine. You do not have to do this. If you know somebody who does, this could actually really, be beneficial for you in helping you understand where they're coming from and the fact that a lot of times you just want to tell people to stop it, just stop worrying, just stop being anxious, and we can't. If we could, we would. Believe me, we don't want to be this way. So hopefully it can help you to have, some sympathy towards people that who do suffer from this. So the journal, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get yourself a little journal or get yourself a piece of paper, whatever you wanna do, and you are gonna divide that paper into 3 columns, okay? So on a page, you're gonna put 3 columns. And so on the, the first column on the far left, you're gonna put like a little header at the top. And what will go up there is gonna be the date. So you'll just write date. And then in the middle, you're gonna write trigger. And then on the 3rd column, you're going to write date again. So what you'll do is anytime something happens, anytime you have an anxiety or a worry or something comes over you, you have an attack, you're gonna write down the date that it happened. So for an example, we'll say, that it happened today. So I'd write down whatever this day is, October, I don't even know. So I'd write down the date and the year, and then the trigger, so say the trigger was, what I would have experienced back then was I saw a piece of trash in the road, thought I was gonna drive over it, and it was gonna be a roadside bomb and blow up. So then I would leave those, I'd fill that in. So I'd put the date that it happened, what the trigger was, what brought on the anxiety. And then in the 3rd column where it says date, when it actually happens, you write down the date that it actually happens. And here's the thing, you should, as you do this, and if you even do this for a week, how I did, I had columns. I had all this stuff filled in, everything that I thought was going to kill me. On this day, this happened, and I thought I was gonna die. That was always the thing. Like, this is always what brought on my anxiety. And then as I started filling those in, the 3rd column always remained blank because it never actually happened. So I still have my journal that still has all the dates that it actually did happen blank because I'm still here. I'm not dead. I did not die, which is a great thing. So anyhow, that's what I'm just gonna have you do and see if that doesn't help you with just really, again, putting your anxiety into perspective. I know we think it in our minds like this is irrational and I shouldn't be thinking this, but something does change when you actually see it. So when you take it and you go, that next step of like, okay, it's in my head, and then you actually put it down on paper where you can see like, these are all the things that I am worried about. These are the things that bring on anxiety, and yet they're not happening. None of these things are happening. Okay, so that's what the assignment is gonna be. So go through, you're gonna do that this week, and then the scripture that you are going to be going to over and over and over again is in 2 Timothy, okay? And it's 2 Timothy, it's chapter 1, and it's verse 7. And it's, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That scripture for me, during the years of me dealing with my anxiety and working through therapy and doing all of that, that was like, this was my anthem. I came back to this scripture and I said it over and over and over again because I would tell God, like, you did not give me this spirit of fear, but you have given me a sound mind, even though at the time my mind was not sound. And I clung to that promise. Like, I will have a sound mind. I know I will one day. It's not happening right now, but it will happen because this is what you have given me. And so also alongside that, I always just had this really simple prayer because when anxiety would hit, I couldn't think straight. I didn't know how to think correctly. I'm not in my, right mind. I couldn't sit down and come up with this elaborate prayer to Jesus or anything like that. And still to this day, when I can feel anxiety coming in, I still say this prayer, and it's the most simple prayer, but I swear it has been so effective. And my prayer was just simply this: Jesus, take captive my thoughts. That's it. That's all I would say to him. That's all I could even get out. And then I would just have to trust and believe that he was going to come in and take care of me. So that's where we're gonna land for today. And again, I hope you're able to start this. I hope, for those of you who are dealing with anxiety, that this will just give you a place to start. First, it's gonna, give you a word that you can just start claiming over your life and over your mind. And it's a truth that, it's God's promise. So you need to just start putting that into your head. You need to just absorb it into your head and let your mind just take that in. And then secondly, again, just hoping that you can see, your anxiety for what it truly is, and that it does not have power over you at all. It's a fake power. It's so deceptive. So I am praying for all of you ladies. I know how difficult this is. I hate anxiety. I absolutely hate it. And I just hate knowing that so many women experience this. So I am definitely on your side. I am right here with you, and I totally get what you're going through. So be praying for you, and I will see you ladies next week. Until then, God bless. Bye-bye.